Hello everyone, welcome to week 2 of Bio 109 Lab. First off, congratulations on finishing week 1, but we still have 5 more to go and things are going to get more difficult. So keep working hard, asking questions when you have them, handing things in on time, and that will set you up well to succeed. Okay, this is Dr. Jenkins for Lab. I just wanted to give you a quick intro. I don't want to waste your time, it's not my style, but I want to give you a quick intro to this week. If you look at the schedule, hopefully look at the schedule. If you haven't, look at it. We can see that I just took this right from the lab syllabus. This is what you're doing in lab on the left, and this is what you're covering in lecture with Dr. Kelly on the right. You can see that the lab does correspond with some parts of lecture. So for example, lab number 3, which is organization of the body, most certainly corresponds with chapter 4 of lecture. The other two don't correspond quite as well, but these two labs are foundational for any science lab. What kind of science lab would this be if we didn't have a lab on the microscope and the scientific method? I can tell you it wouldn't be a very good one. So these don't directly relate to lecture, but they're important for any science course, okay? But because you're covering chromosomal inheritance and genetics and cancer, I am going to do my best to try and find some sort of correlation between them. So you're going to see some questions in the microscopy lab and the scientific method lab that refer to these two topics in lecture. So be sure that you're paying attention to both and you're ready to connect the dots. A really quick introduction. This is not going to be a very long video. For lab number 3, this is organization of the body, and there isn't a corresponding lab in the McGraw-Hill Connect. There's not a virtual lab. So instead, as you'll see in Blackboard, I have put 3 links, okay? These first 2 links are from a program called Lumen, and then the second one is a good old-fashioned rat dissection video, okay? It's very important that we do this lab. It's important that scientists have a common language that they talk about for terminology and location. That's so that one scientist can talk to any other scientist around the world, and because you use a common terminology, you understand each other, right? And then the rat dissection. I'm really quite sad that I can't go through this with you. Maybe you're happy you're missing the actual dissection. I'm hoping some of you out there are sad because it's kind of cool. But look at the video and answer the questions. The video is a great way. We do the rat dissection because the organization of the rat's little organs mimic the organization of ours. So their little heart is going to be around their little lungs. Their little liver is going to be on the upper right quadrant. Their stomach is on the upper left. Their intestines. So that's why we do the rat, because the organization of the rat is very similar to the human. Then you're going to be doing some microscope labs. These will be using the virtual labs from the McGraw-Hill Connect program. Go through the labs. Make sure you have your lab assignment number 2 open so you can answer questions about the lab as you go through it. And for some extra bonus fun, because the fun has really just begun, I'm going to ask you some questions in the microscopy lab section. I'm going to ask you some questions that correspond to the lecture chapter on cancer. It's nothing that you cannot answer as long as you've gone through the lecture with Dr. Kelly and the lab with me, but I'm trying to make a connection. And lastly, you're going to have a lab on the scientific method. I talked about how important this is. Any scientist worth of salt is going to answer a question or do an experiment using the steps of the scientific method. You'll see in the virtual lab, it's going to walk you through a little lab with pill bugs. There's a little tail. As you can see, I'm a terrible drawer. Don't pick me for Pictionary. So you'll want to watch the video, or excuse me, you're going to want to go through the lab, the virtual lab, and answer the questions. But I'm also going to ask you some questions in the lab assignment that relate to genetics, which is what you're covering in lecture. So be prepared to bring some of the knowledge from lecture into the laboratory, the virtual laboratory. I will end with a little bit of fun. Here's me last year at the Weightlifting Hall of Fame in Pennsylvania. I don't know, I'm not bad. I think I can look pretty similar to this guy, minus the reproductive organs, that is. All right, folks, week 2. Let's make sure that you're doing things on time, and I am here for questions. Don't hesitate. All right, good luck.